Hey everybody, thank you so much for your patience in having this be a couple hours late. So yeah, we were on the train from Paris to Bordeaux when I realized we were not arriving at the time that I thought we were arriving. So we've just checked into our hotel here in Bordeaux. Let me see if I can show it to you. My daughter is over there watching videos, and there is Bordeaux, the river that flows through, and so we're there. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you again for allowing the delay today. I would love to hear from you guys on how you're, well, I've been traveling all day. I look a little, I would love to hear from you guys how you are doing so far within the Manifest Your Dream Life Academy program. So if you have questions, please post those. I'm going to try to make sure that I can see them and see them live, and I'll be able to hopefully answer those as well. So hopefully you guys have been doing some future journaling. I really feel like the future journaling, and we're going to reinforce that today about why that is so important. And it really is about getting ourselves to the point of that we are automatically setting our expectations so that our expectations are in alignment with what we truly desire, okay? And those kinds of things, honestly, when we shift those expectations, huge things do start to happen. So in the yesterday's video, I was talking about how, you know, there's energy and matter, and energy and matter are sort of interchangeable. What I want to talk about today is actually how our expectations are affecting the reality that we literally get. So the way that the particles in our life come together, okay? And this becomes extremely, extremely important. You're gonna see my husband wandering around too. This is gonna be extremely, extremely important to understand. This piece right here, I feel like, I won't say if it's the only thing you take from this, it will change everything, but it's certainly a very big thing. Because if you can take that into your soul, into your heart, into your mind, and truly understand what this means, you are going to change everything in your life. You really are. So let's talk about, in the book, I call this observing, disturbing, and somewhat perturbing, I think I called it, which I really loved the title of that. So let's just go to the science part of it. So scientists started to try to figure out, was light a solid or a wave? So was it basically matter or energy? Now, I think for most of us, we would automatically think, well, sure, you know, light has to be a wave. I mean, we can't see it. We're not seeing the light particles. That are called photons. We're not seeing photons floating around, right? Nothing's whacking us in the eye when we go walking around. And so we would say it's a wave, right? So these experiments actually, hi Cynthia, hi Karen, and hi Shreya. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. The scientists basically designed this experiment. Now, this experiment is known as the double slit experiment. It's very, very famous because it was really pretty foundational to quantum physics, and a lot of the sciences we know it now in quantum physics was really based on kind of the start of this experiment. So what they did is they basically, they had a particle detector. Now, obviously a particle detector is exactly what you think that it would be, right? It is literally something you turn on when you want to go look for particles. And when they're looking for particles, they're literally looking for solids, right? They're looking for the particle to be solid. Okay, that's the expectation. Now, when they turn it off, then they're not looking for anything, right? They're basically assuming that when they turn it on, they're either going to see particles or they're going to see waves, one or the other, and that's going to determine it. And that means a photon is either a wave or it's solid. That's what it is, right? And so basically they shot light through two different slits. That's why it's called the double slit experiment. Now, when you shoot light through a double slit, I will go kind of sciencey on you in a second, and I'll bring it back around to what this means to you. So when you shoot light through two slits, what happens is that if it's a wave, you would expect to get a very classic wave pattern. Now, a classic wave pattern is what you would think of if you dropped a pebble into water, right? And you get those ripples, that circular ripples going out, right? And that's a classic wave pattern. That is something has disturbed that. It has created waves, and now the waves are becoming a pattern. And there you can see them as this little circle, circle, circle rippling out, okay? And it's a pretty classic picture. I think we see a lot of times where people are talking about the effect that we can have as individuals, how we ripple things out, right? So if you can imagine that picture, or imagine as a kid, maybe you dropped a penny into a pond or a rock, right? And so, and in fact, when the particle detector was off, as the light shone through the double slits, it in fact was showing a wave pattern. Now you would think game over, right? Well, then a photon has to be a wave, it has to be energy. It can't be a solid. Here's the crazy thing. So when they turned the particle detector on, the instant that the particle detector got turned on, the instant, all the photons lined up, the wave pattern collapsed, and now they just had these slits of light coming through this double slit experiment. They literally, the moment they turned the particle detector on, no more wave, it lined up. And now it was lining up, as you can imagine, a solid would be sort of a line of these photons floating through the double slits. Now, this blew the scientists' mind, and it really blew my mind when I first started to do research on this, because basically this means that either particles, such as photons, are psychic, and so they just want to mess with humans, and they know when we're turning things on and off, when we're trying to measure them as a solid or measure them as a wave. Or what is more likely is that, number one, all solid is actually also wave, all solid. So that which, and we talked about it a little bit before, that which makes up your body, even though we experience it as solid, is also waveform. And in addition, our expectation of what we believe we are going to see is impacting what we see, what we experience. Let me explain that a little bit more. When the particle detector was off, the expectation of the scientists was they were going to see waves, and they saw waves. The second the particle detector got turned on, the expectation of the scientists was, I'm turning this on because I'm looking for particles. And now they were seeing particles. Okay? So what this means to us as humans, what this means to us as beings creating our life, is that everything in our lives is both solid and energy at all times. Even if it seems very, very solid. On top of that, we can think of our own expectations as inherently changing the way that particles, the solids, the things in our life come together. We can think of ourselves as the particle detectors of our lives. When you think about it that way, then you have to start thinking, like, what are your expectations when you wake up in the morning? Okay? And there's an interesting, Werner Heisenberg, who was a very world famous quantum physicist for a lot of reasons. He developed something called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Basically what it means, to make it long story short, it's to observe is to disturb. What that means is that we can never literally see the actual real reality of life, because the moment that essentially our eyes open in the morning, we are immediately observing life, and we are observing life with our own expectations. So by doing that, we are now causing the reality around us to start to come into place, to snap together in ways that we expect it to. Okay? So it's pretty wild science when you really, really think about it. It's pretty wild science. Okay? So this, needless to say, blew a lot of scientists' minds at the time. And as I say, it did become the basis for a lot of quantum physics because at that moment in time, they realized that literally our expectations as human beings are having that kind of impact on our day-to-day life. We can no longer say that we're not, or that things around us are just solid and we can't change them, right? And so basically, if you think about it this way, when you change your expectations, then you are inherently changing what you're going to observe. Right? So when you change your expectations, and that's where we have to get to the subconscious level of changing the expectations at the underlying level, because we can change our expectations at a conscious level, and that's okay. But most of us have expectations that have been absolutely sort of programmed into us from a very early age. And those expectations are really the ones that are almost like the switch of the particle detector. They're the ones that we have to get to. And that's where the flow factor test comes in and some other things, okay? So one thing that I want you to think about is you essentially get in life what you expect to get, nothing more and nothing less. And again, so in the book, I talk about that, there's that old story of like, if a tree fell in the woods, no one was there to hear it, did it actually make a sound? Okay. And of course, there's this whole philosophy, people can argue that still to this day. It's a big philosophical dealio. They talk about it. So while my opinion would be generally that, yeah, it did make a sound, but I would probably be wrong. Because the correct answer, according to this, would be that not only would the tree not make a sound, the whole forest actually wouldn't exist because I wasn't there to observe it, which is like really crazy when you think about it. How this impacts you in your day-to-day life. And here's something I want you to think about as you go to bed tonight, later on tonight. Essentially, when you go to sleep, what this is saying is you're going down into waveform. You are sort of flowing at a general frequency of you-ness, but you are going into sort of waveform, which is, I think sometimes if you think about it, where like maybe dreams and those sorts of things, we're sort of in this other place, this other kind of dimension. We are literally energy, okay? And then when we wake up, whatever expectations we had from the night before or from years before, but still in us the night before, are still there. So when we wake up, everything pops back into being. So when you think about it that way, one thing I want you to do as you fall asleep tonight is to start to say to yourself, you start to set some expectations. And I'm going to upload a bonus meditation you can use at night. It's my manifest meditation. And you can actually start to listen to it at night and start to really program for yourself what you truly want to have in your life, shifting those expectations, changing those things. And if you think about it, it's the best possible time for you to do it because you are literally at that moment in time setting the expectations overnight, allowing them to sort of take hold. And the more that you do it, like maybe every night, right, then you're shifting them, you're changing them. That's something I want you to do. As you're falling asleep at night, thinking about what are your expectations? How do you want to recreate yourself in the morning? Because the reality is that when you wake up in the morning, and I actually jokingly say this to my daughter, sometimes when I wake up and I'm kind of sleepy and groggy, I'm like, my particles haven't come back together yet, right? So if you're going kind of into this wave form because you are not awake to experience yourself, so now you're just wave. When you come back together in the morning, you're coming back together as a completely new person based on your expectations from that moment in time. Now, I know this sounds like completely wild, but quantum physics has actually proven this exact concept now over and over again to the point that it's actually taken just as essentially law. If there is such a thing in quantum physics. So when you start to think about it, you realize that every moment of your life is actually a new creation based on your expectations at that moment in time. That's why it's so important for us to get to your expectations and be able to make sure they are in alignment with what we started with what your actual dream life is, with what you really want to have happen in your life, right? And that's where it's going to to change everything. So when you start to actually be able to change your expectations at this underlying level, you can literally change the outcome of pretty much any experience in your life, okay? It's at that level when we can get to the point where your expectations are so finely tuned that they are completely aligned with the world and the life and that you want. And let me just stop there. Part of the reason that I'm doing this whole thing for free is because, as you can imagine, the more of us that learn these kinds of principles, the more of us that use these scientific principles in a very empowering way, in a very metaphysical way, in a very life-altering way, our frequency that we are choosing and changing those expectations does have a ripple effect. It does change the frequency of the world. And I think we all want a better world. So that's why I'm so excited to have you guys here and doing this work, because the more that each of you individually align with these positive expectations and start to manifest what you actually desire in this world, that literally starts to lift the collective frequency, lift it. And then when our collective expectations are better, now we're pulling better things up. Now we're causing the particles in the whole world to start to shift. Okay. So that's why I feel very passionate about this, needless to say. So that's something I want you to think about as I'll finish up here in a couple of minutes. I just want to make sure. I want you to think about the fact you're really creating magic every moment of your life. So many of us get stuck on who we were in the past, the things we did, the experiences we had in the past. And let me just be very clear. There are experiences, there are traumas, there is abuse, there are things that you absolutely are going to have to heal from. Those we are going to work on throughout this entire program. And those things do have a profound effect on the kinds of expectations you have. So does that need healing? It does need healing. Absolutely. Was it wounding? Yes. Okay. Do you have expectations that were set because of that wounding? Absolutely. Is that reasonable? It absolutely is as well. Okay. So I don't want to ever take away from that reality. What I want you to think about is that the past literally has flowed into non-existence. The only moment we have, the only moment we can create, we're co-creating this moment right now, is this moment in time. The present moment. That's why people oftentimes talk about, the past is already gone, the future is yet to be. And the moment of power is the present moment. Well, the reason the moment of power is the present moment is because we get to choose our attitude and our expectations in this present moment in time. And as we do that, we're literally impacting that which we experience, like a particle detector that is set to, my life is awesome. What if it's like an awesome detector, right? Or what if it's a financial abundance detector? I expect financial abundance. I can tell you that is something I had to work on so hard, you guys. Me and financial abundance were not friends for a long, long time. I will be completely honest. I have had to work on this hard, and I did have some money wounds. We're going to talk about money wounds in this program and healing those. Just from things in the past. I'll talk about that later on, but just like anybody does, we can have negative expectations about money. Also being a healer, also being a spiritual person, right? I had a guy I used to work with called me Mother Teresa, and he did not mean it as a compliment, but it was because inherently, I just want to make this into a better world. And I would do just about anything to make that happen. And he would point out that, well, that doesn't go hand in hand with abundance. And so now I can tell you from healing that it does, it absolutely does. But you got to heal like those sort of core wounds. So what I want you to think about is that kind of stuff. What do you want to set your detector to right in this very moment? And please post it if I can actually see it. I don't know how to see the oh, wait. Can I see the chat? Nope. That would make me chat, which isn't going to be very helpful. Okay. I will check this when I can see it, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm on my phone and I can't see how to see the comments. So whatever comments you guys put, I promise you I will respond to them. So thank you in advance for those. So what kind of detector would you like right in this moment in time? So would you like a love detector, for instance, that you are everywhere you go, all you see is love, or that you're attracting your soulmate, for instance? Would you like a financial detector that expects financial abundance, or an abundance detector? Okay. Would you like a joy detector? Would you like a detector where you're feeling that you expect joy in this moment in time, and so you are actually impacting the particles in your life to be able to have that? Okay. So I want you to think about that. Every moment right this instant is fresh. The past moment, 5 minutes ago, actually doesn't exist anymore. We can see the replay, but it actually doesn't exist anymore. And you're only getting the replay in the present moment when you watch it, right? So it actually does attract my soulmate for me. Okay, hi, Livia. Okay, and Joan, financial, joy. Okay, so I want you guys, thank you so much for those comments. I can see comments, yay. Thank you so much for those comments. So I want you guys to think about Livia, a soulmate attractor, expecting that you're attracting. You may not see that person right away. It can take time for that frequency to shift, but you're having an impact every moment that you choose to flip that detector on and choose that that's your expectation, right? I want Joan, think about a financial abundance detector. So in those moments in time, when you wake tomorrow morning, as you fall asleep tonight, you can start saying, my life is filled with financial abundance. I expect financial abundance. I expect joy in my life, and I get joy in my life. Karen, beautiful. The feeling of freedom. I mean, I think that for me, I feel like freedom encapsulates it all, right? Because then we're free to love. We're free. We have abundance. Freedom is I feel like one of the most important concepts for us as humans in general. Is everybody wants to be and should be free, right? And so, okay, so for you, it's I expect that my life is easy and supportive and that I feel free in every way, okay? That would be a perfect one. If that resonates with you, that would be a perfect one to be able to use. As you fall asleep tonight, saying that to yourself. What I want for you guys in this next couple days, and again, you'll have an additional meditation. I'll get it up in the group and I'll also put it in the portal. And then again, you can fall asleep to this meditation, and it's perfectly fine. All we're doing is reprogramming your waves before you get up in the morning. That's all we want to do. So even if you fall asleep, don't worry about it. So what I want for you guys to do is to please this weekend, your sort of homework is not only to do that meditation, but to pay attention as you fall asleep at night to the words and the expectations you're programming yourself with. In the morning, sure, Karen, thank you. That's fantastic. I'm glad that resonates. And again, this always has to resonate with you guys. So whatever I tell you, like if I give you an affirmation or a mantra, just make sure that it feels powerful and resonates with you. For me, one of the most critical things, and you'll find this about me as you continue, is that I always want it has to be right for you individually. You know, never take it. I'm teaching you, and I'm so honored to be able to be in that position to teach you guys, but you are also leaders. So I always want you to be in charge of your own minds. If you have questions, that's great. If you disagree with something, that's totally fine. You have to go with what's true for you inside. So if you need to change wording when I give you something, that's wonderful. Just do it as it's right for you. So then for the rest of the weekend, what I'd like for you to pay attention to as you go into situations, we go in and out of situations all the time, work on setting your expectations as you're leading into something. So for instance, coming here to France, I worked really hard on setting my expectations that everything would be smooth. I cannot even tell you how smooth. We had the most smooth flight here. We landed. I have never in my life seen customs so short. I think we had 3 people in front of us. The last time we were in Paris, which was a few years ago, it was before my sweet daughter, so it was a few years ago. There was, I don't even know, 5. It looked like Disney World on like a June, summer day. It was insane. So customs, I swear it was 3 people. We went breezing through. We walked right out. There was a taxi. It took us straight to the apartment we were renting. It just could not have been smoother. Every place that we've gone to eat, it's like we've found these places and they've just been extraordinary and incredible. And so I tell you that story because I can tell you that I have personally seen the impact of shifting my expectations, especially on things that normally would make me a little bit, I can get a little bit unnerved. I think a lot of people can as you're traveling, or if you're going to new places, and I get worried about, do I have everything with me? All those things we can do. But if we can set our expectations to, this is easy, this is fun, this is going to be fun, it's going to be fun and easy, right? That makes a huge, huge, huge change. Now, in saying that, are you going to be perfect? No. I was quite grumpy on the way over here because I was like, oh my God, we got in late, and then we were trying to find our hotel here in Bordeaux. So am I perfect? No. Are you going to be perfect? No. But what we do is we're going to take that moment in time to recenter, redirect, realize that we now have a choice in this present moment, even if we were feeling a little grumpy, a little grumps on the way here, a little tired, a little worried about making sure all of this is working properly. We can make that decision to change, to keep that present moment. So I just want you to think about the fact that you are literally making magic every moment. And that can be a mantra you can use. I use it myself. I'll say, I make magic every moment. I make magic every moment. Because when you start to say that, right, what is inherently being said there? You have an expectation that things are going to align in almost magical, miraculous ways. Okay? I mean, a miracle can happen every single moment of every single day, and it does. And really, if you think about what I just said, that the entire existence of the universe goes back into wave until we're up and experiencing it, that's miraculous, you guys. That's insane. Like, if you think about the fact that we all have come together in our bodies, that's insane. We have to have gratitude, so much gratitude for that. And Livia, I see a mantra for you. Sure. So with soulmates, I would say, I expect that everywhere I go, I will be surrounded by unconditional love. I expect that my soulmate is coming into my life now. I would say those are the ones that are really, really important. Now, underneath that, truthfully, how I met my husband was I had to do a heck of a lot of work on what I actually deserved, because I was definitely pulling not the right guy into my life quite often. And so that does take the additional work, but set the expectation that, even you get up every morning and you expect, today is the day. Another thing to do, Livia, and this is true for all of us, and this is why the future journaling is so important. And I really, really, really want everybody, if possible, even 5 minutes in the morning, you guys, makes like a life-changing difference of sitting down. That's where you can really put your expectations for the day. And that day you can say, today I expect that I am going to meet the man of my dreams. Okay, or the woman of my dreams, or the whoever of my dreams. I expect, you can imagine, think about what you are going to be doing that day. So if you have to get up and you're going to a coffee house, and then you have to go and you're meeting friends. And I expect when I go to meet my friends, right? Peace with family. Oh, Cynthia. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah, that can be a really hard one. So, okay. The peace with family. Okay, let me give you something I've done that made a huge, 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 huge difference. And it really is around the expectations on this one. So for a long time in my family, I realized that I was always expecting for certain things to be true or difficult, or I was trying to enlighten people or change people, right? So it was easier. Now again, caveat, if you have an abusive family, if you have those kinds of things, there's other things that you sometimes may need to take a pause from them. So let me just be very clear. Okay. So however, in my case, that wasn't the case. It was just, personalities, right? And so I read somewhere along the way, so my grandma was very sick, and I was trying my best to make everything, how you do. I wanted everything to be exactly so for my grandma, because she was, in hospice, and she was, that was going to be her transition. And I loved my grandma a great deal. We were really close. And so I was trying to get my mom and my dad, just get everybody on board and get everything aligned. And it was just starting to drive me crazy. And I realized, so somewhere along the way, I encountered a Buddhist koan where they talk about you cannot change a maple into an oak tree. Like you can't, there's nothing you can do to change a maple into an oak. You have to sort of accept the mapleness. And once I made that decision to understand, first off, that I wasn't going to be changing the people in my life, they are who they are. Now, changing ourselves can oftentimes intrinsically change the people around us, but we can't expect. Once I accepted essentially everyone's sort of mapleness, things got a good deal. Oh, okay, yeah, 90, yeah. She said, I get it. My parents are 91. I have to deal with my siblings. So yeah, you understand. And each sibling is going to have, right, their personality, and you can want things to be a certain way, and it just can be you're trying to make it not stressful, and then you're stressing out because, it can just be a lot. So one thing is, you can say to yourself, I accept their mapleness, and you just start to accept who they are. When you accept who they are, there is a freedom, to go back to freedom, there is a freedom to that where you are not stressing about trying to help change a maple into an oak. The next thing that is very helpful is to say to yourself, I expect that this is going to be easy today. I expect that I'm going to have a simple conversation, and this conversation is going to go this way. That's where the future journaling can help a great deal. So if you've got, for instance, a family event, something that's, you've got to discuss with your siblings, especially with older parents. Sometimes, obviously, you have to discuss things like their care and other things. If you can sit down in the morning and literally say, I expect that today, this is how this is going to go, or this conversation is going to go this way. It's great also if you happen to be a visual learner, and if you've taken the reality type test, you can find out if you're visual or auditory. You can actually imagine yourself. You can actually play it out in your mind. So you're setting the expectation that's going to be that way, okay? And that can help a great deal. A mantra to use with the Peace with Family is something along the lines of, I expect ease and joy in all my familial relationships or all my family relationships. I expect ease and joy. I expect it. That can be very helpful. Financial abundance can be everywhere I go. Here's one that I absolutely love, actually. Let's see, how do I usually say it? It's money. Money loves me, and I love money. Everywhere I go, it flows to me freely. Okay. And the cool thing about that one is I have found that saying that one, things have changed that are just like crazy. Sometimes I'll get like a discount off of something, or someone will just give me something for free. That's abundance too, right? That I didn't expect as we're like traveling about or whatever. Okay, loss of weight. We're going to talk about weight later. So weight oftentimes, especially depending on where you're carrying it, weight oftentimes is literally padding. So if you've been feeling like things around you are coming at you a little too hard, and if you're a highly sensitive person, this is also particularly true. It's like you're putting padding on so that sort of the blows of life are not coming at you so intensely. You're softening them. Okay. And I always like to explain to people, and I think I may have said this before, it's like if I told you had to go in against a heavyweight boxer in the ring in 5 minutes, you'd be running around, you'd be grabbing every bit of padding you could put on your body because you want to soften the blows. Weight oftentimes has to do with that. Now, where it is in the body, we'll talk about as well, and how that can impact what that, why you hold on to it. But a lot of times the reason we're holding on to it is because it does actually make us feel safer. Okay, so that tends to be, and we'll talk about station 3 in a little bit. If you've taken the flow factor test of 3s showing up in there, so station 3 has to do with our feelings of self-protection, self-esteem, ability to set boundaries for ourselves, our sense of our personal identity, and so forth. And so a lot of times the weight will come from there. It'll come from us feeling that we can't sort of energetically, emotionally, spiritually protect ourselves. And so we hold it on. So if you do something with weight, I would actually, in this particular case, and depending on exactly what's going on with the weight, I would actually say something more along the lines of, I am safe, I am protected, I am whole, I am free. something more that is sending the signal to your body that you're safe. It also can do, and we're going to talk about that in station 3 too, it can do with like inner child work, where you're basically protecting wounds you had as a child, and you're kind of protecting that inner child self by having weight on. And health, it depends on what you're dealing with health. So you can definitely say, I love to go with, I am so grateful to live in a perfectly fit, perfectly healthy body that allows me to do anything I want to do. So that's for me. Another way of doing any of these expectations, and I'm sorry, I know we're going long. Another way to do any of these expectations and setting those kinds of things is actually to think about emotionally, what would it feel like to feel that way, or why would you want to feel that way? So for instance, with financial abundance, instead of just like, I want tons of money, it's more like, I am so grateful for the financial abundance in my life that I am able to use to send my child to college and to travel the world with ease. Okay. See how that's more specific? It's something more that it's about what you genuinely want, and that's going to call up a different kind of emotion. Same thing to be true with weight. Why would you want, because there's nothing really wrong with weight. If you want to, everybody's size is great. The only problem with weight is if you want it off and you don't want it and you don't feel good, right? Those are the problems, obviously. And it's not healthy. If there's an issue and you need to lose weight for health, etc. So in that case, like, what about being in a healthy, fit body would mean the world to you? For me, it's to keep up with my 7-year-old, just newly 7-year-old. It's to be able to travel and enjoy life and to be able to do all of these things, right? So that's something that I call up in myself. So hopefully you guys, I know we went like really long today. I appreciate you guys being willing to, again, I'm so sorry we had to do this a little bit late today. I will get the meditation up for you, but I want to leave you with this. Doing the meditation, setting your expectations. There's my cute little girl. Setting the expectations, working on bringing yourself to the present moment. If you need to, jog yourself by saying, I make magic every moment, or I'm making magic this moment. And that can shift you in that moment of realizing that you are out of the waves that is actually life. Bring that in, and you can see that in that moment, your expectations are the detector of your life. Remember, and think to yourself, what does my detector want to detect today? Okay? Thank you so much for being here today. If you have any additional questions, definitely put them in the group. Please give me an update on how you guys are doing. I would love to hear if anybody's doing the free future journaling, or they did the Dreamcatcher stuff, or any of that. And then I'll get that meditation up, and it's called Manifest. Oh, of course, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Seriously, I'm so glad to have every single one of you. You guys are, when you change your life, you're changing my life, and you're helping me change the world. So just do those things. And again, we make magic every moment. I'll probably post that tomorrow in the group to help you guys remember. I probably should get a tattoo of that to remember it. Thank you all so much for being here. I'll get the meditation up in just a minute, and download that meditation and use it, and see how it makes you feel. Hopefully you love it over the weekend too. All right, sending all of you guys love too. Thank you so much for being here. There's my cute little girl over there listening to something. I could go take her and get her some dinner here in a minute. Talk to you guys really soon. See you on Monday.